Just seeing if some attendees arrive. Excellent. Hello and welcome to the BSB50420 Diploma of Leadership and Management Student Information Session. With me today, I have Chief Academic Officer Iona McKimmie. Iona, welcome.
Hi, James. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Now, today we're talking about the Diploma of Leadership and Management. Look, it's a really, really exciting course. We're seeing so much demand for the sort of skill sets and competencies that are being delivered in this particular diploma. And really, if anything, I think the demand for these sort of skill sets, particularly sort of in leadership, in both a face-to-face and remote working environment, have really escalated, certainly over the past 2 years or so. Now, with that in mind, Iona, I'll hand on over to you to provide us a little bit of insight into the background of the course and, of course, some of the key competencies that it delivers.
Okay, so the Diploma of Leadership and Management is delivered over a 12-month period. And what the course is really focused on an insight into the skills that we need to work in a range of leadership and management functions across an organisation. So we do a lot of talking about team management and project work and business planning, but we take a really deep look, for example, at team effectiveness. So and communication and how we develop critical thinking and problem solving skills. These are skills that we really do need when we're working in leadership or management capacity in an organisation. And really understanding how that works, how we work as a leader, how we communicate as a leader or a manager, and what the difference is between leadership and management, because often it's a very different approach to the same thing when we're working in a leadership capacity. So the course is broad-based, and it does really encourage us to develop our communication skills, our time management skills, but also a lot of what we talk about in the course is about teams and how we develop effective teams, for example, as I mentioned, but also that wonderful thing, where we look at innovation and we look at continuous improvement and we look at change management as well. And as part of change management, we look at risk management as well, because risk is not just something that's a risk, but it's also an opportunity, and how we plan for all of those things from a management, but also leadership perspective as well.
Excellent. Now, we've got obviously key core business units and competencies that are delivered there, but we've also got the transferable skills, which I think are really, really important. Certainly a number of them there. I mean, we've got leadership, and certainly with the diploma sort of focusing on that, but things such as communication and also time management, I think are really, really critical, particularly when you consider the application of this course to a variety of different sectors and, of course, different functions within an organisation.
Oh, most definitely. But also we have to consider that the way we work and how we're working is changing. We know that our workplaces are becoming a mix of remote and on-site working. We know that we have teams in very, very different environments than we may have had previously. So these core transferable skills are really important. But from that perspective, with the way we're working and the changes in that. But those core transferable skills go with us wherever we go. When we're working in leadership and management roles, all of those core transferable skills, no matter what industry we're in, are very, very common across any type of role where we'd have a leadership, a management, or maybe even a team leader role. Those core transferable skills are something that we can take with us into a different context, into a new career even. So they're very, very important, and we do actually focus on every one of these throughout the course.
Excellent. Now, throughout the course, students are exposed to 12 units over a 12-month period of time. Talk to us about some of the core and elective units that are delivered throughout the course.
So over the 12 months, students will study 6 core and 6 electives. And the units are deliberately chosen in this course to really focus on what we do as leaders and managers in a workplace. Um, for example, we know that projects happen in just about any business, in just about any workplace, irregardless of what industry we're working in. But because the focus for this course is on those leadership skills, and it is and it is about developing our teams and developing the effectiveness of our teams, we really focus on a number of things through with the units in the course. So often for businesses, when they're undergoing strategic planning and strategic change, they'll identify something new that that the business wants to do, or the business will identify something that needs an improvement. So part of how we identify that is by looking at concepts and by looking at opportunities for improvement, and that's not just within the context of the organisation, but it's also within individuals. So we look at continuous improvement. We look at working with and developing new concepts. We look at managing our teams. We look at how to actually create professional development programs, for example, but not just our teams, but ourselves as well. Managing those workplace relationships across all levels of the organisation, and developing critical thinking skills as well. And critical thinking and communication, excuse me, and to be able to be agile, and those business analysis skills when we look at continuous improvement and change management are integral skills for the future. And they've actually been identified as those skills that as the world of work changes, and we move towards more remote working or blended workspaces or blended work arrangements, that we'll really need to be able to undertake those things. So as I said before, the course is a broad-based course that brings all of those leadership and management facets of leadership and management together. And as we bring all of those things together throughout the course, as we study each unit, we then take that and we put it into an operational plan for the organisation. So the course, as I said, does actually truly develop not just our leadership skills, but our management skills as well, and our management of operations, irregardless of the context that we work in.
Okay, excellent. Now, I think so. When we have a look at those units, and we've made mention of it, a few times, and certainly the prevalence and range that these leadership and management functions really have, and the sort of applications that they extend to. It's worth having a look at some of the industry sectors and, of course, occupations that it applies to. Obviously, we've got a number of industry sections up there, industry sectors up there, and it's not an exhaustive list by any means. And just give a little bit of an example as to some of the sectors where these leadership and management functions are being applied, but then perhaps even more so the occupations. And again, we've got a really kind of broad list of different broad list of occupations where we could find application of these leadership and management competencies. Now, I think to demonstrate the sort of demand that we're seeing out there in industry for individuals with qualifications and competencies and skills and knowledge and things like that, focusing on leadership and management, we can have a look at the business management role. Now, we've got some industry statistics from SEEK this year, and the average salary of $103,000 is certainly one thing. But I think probably what's really interesting is the job growth of 6.2% and the satisfaction of 4 out of 5, which again sort of demonstrates, particularly the growth figure there, demonstrates the sort of demand that we're seeing out there for individuals who are able to obviously demonstrate a lot of the skills and competencies that we've talked about today. Now, with the units that we've gone through, talk to us about how they're brought to life by way of the learning materials.
So throughout the course, students will experience a range of learning materials. So there is textbooks available that are made available for students for additional reading. Learner guides, which if you like are a reader, that really focus on the learning objectives and the topics for each unit. There's self-directed activities that students will undertake, both from the texts in some units, but also from their learner guides as well, or their activity booklets. Throughout the course, for all units of study, we do make virtual classrooms available in the form of tutorials and study and assessment support tutorials. So the tutorials actually focus on the core knowledge for the units that students are studying, and the assessment and study support tutorials provide students with an opportunity to come together to work with the educators and trainers on specific assessment tasks, and to be able to learn more about the assessment tasks and how their tasks relate to their learning materials. Of course, there's other supports available in those sessions. So, for example, referencing and how to, if you like, even write a white paper. So, those tutorials are a fantastic opportunity for students. The students also will have video that they're able to watch that focuses on those core elements of the unit that they're studying, and in some units there's podcasts available as well.
What I think is really exciting is the broad range of course materials that are, make up essentially the learning material of this course. As you said, videos, podcasts, obviously the learning guide by way of the readers and things like that, and having exposure to such a broad range of media and different types of learning materials, I think really kind of brings a lot of the elements in this course to life. And yeah, in my opinion, certainly with my experience with online, I think that's really, really good.
So the materials will actually, if you like, really be tailored to the unit of competence that the student's studying. So there's also populated templates, so students are able to download those templates, and they've been completed with a full example of how to, for example, develop a performance management plan for a staff member that you may be working with and that you're performance managing, just as a small example. Examples of policies and procedures, links to legislation. There's a whole range of learning materials that are made available to students, because as much as possible we want students to be able to experience what working as a leader or working as a manager in a workplace is really about. So we also make available a business simulation, so students are able to explore a simulated business and approach their assessment tasks as a leader or a manager in an organisation, which is great experience.
Excellent. Now, I think really an extension of the learning materials themselves are the assessment functions that students are exposed to throughout the course. Now, obviously, we won't have every single one of these assessment functions applied to every single unit that we looked on earlier on, and it may in fact be a combination, or just sort of, I suppose, just a couple of assessment functions for each unit. Talk to us about what that might look like.
So here at Mentor Education, we consider your assessment to be a continuation, if you like, of what you've been learning throughout your units and in your course. So as you move through your learning and through your learning path in each of your different units of competence, you'll complete self-directed learning activities, which will introduce the concepts and introduce some of the tasks that you'll be completing as far as your assessment tasks are concerned. So once our students reach their assessments, they commonly find that in their assessment tasks there's a mixture of different types of assessment tasks. So students might be asked to complete some short answer questions and undertake a project. The project might include a research activity, but then a presentation to actually that's about that research activity. Students might be developing policies and procedures and answering some long answer questions. They might be answering some multiple choice questions and responding to case studies and scenarios, but also creating a presentation. Commonly, students will experience 2 or 3 of these different types of assessment tasks in their assessment for each unit of competence.
Great. Now, the online learning experience, I thought I'd just quickly take a moment to talk about that and some of the key requirements for students to engage in online learning. The first thing you're going to want to have access to is a strong and reasonable internet connection. The second thing, of course, is access to a laptop or desktop computer. And then finally, on that laptop or desktop computer, you're going to want to have access to a browser, so Chrome, Firefox, or Mac equivalent, or whatever it is that you choose to use. Now, through that browser, you'll be able to access the student portal, which will take you to the online learning management system, or the LMS, which we call it. And inside the learning management system, you'll get access to anything and everything that you need in order to complete your course. And of course, find links to all of your readings and media that form part of the learning materials themselves, in addition to being able to sort of download all of those assessment tasks. Now, one of the great things about it being online is the flexibility that it affords. So it might be that you're working full-time, you're running a family full-time, you're in fact doing both, and you need to squeeze in study whenever and however you can. So being able to access the learning management system essentially 24 hours a day means that you can make online learning fit in with anything and everything else that you've got going on, which is really, really great from that flexibility point of view. The other thing which I also like to mention, of course, is the ability to access the learning management system through a smart device. So that might be your smartphone or a tablet or whatever it may be. So if you'd like to perhaps do some reading or access some of your learning materials on the train, in transit on the way to work, or perhaps even do some readings in bed or whatever it may be, you've got the flexibility to do that as well. But certainly when it comes to completing assessments, we do recommend, of course, that you access your desktop or laptop computer. Now, throughout the course, really starting from the very beginning, even from the moment that you inquire with Mentor Education, you're exposed to a whole range of support functions that are delivered from a couple of different teams throughout Mentor. And of course, the first one is the Education Advice team. Now, they're based here in Melbourne, of course, available 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time, directly on the phone and via email as well. And they'll work with you to talk to you about what it is that you're currently doing. That could be work-wise, study-wise, whatever it may be, and look at where it is that you're sort of heading and what some of your goals are. And then from there, identify what's going to be the most appropriate course or education solution based on what your goals are. And in this case, it may very well be the Diploma of Leadership and Management. In addition to the Education Advice team, once you're, of course, a student at Mentor Education, you're directly linked into our team of student support officers who can help you with just about anything and everything when it comes to your study. And that can be from onboarding you onto the learning management system. It could be resetting your passwords, setting up appointments with members of the education team, all sorts of things like that. Even things such as suspending your course or applying for extensions. And again, they're available directly via email or phone, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. And arguably probably one of the most important support functions that you'll have exposure to as a student Mentor Education is the education team themselves. And Iona, I'll hand on over you to talk to us about what sort of support's afforded to students by way of the education team.
Thanks, James. Students are able to call in Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on the 1300 number, as it's shown here on the screen, and ask to speak to an educator or trainer from their course, so they're able to ask direct questions. Students are also able to make appointments for longer appointments to speak with an educator or trainer, ask questions, solve challenges with assessment tasks, and even have arrange a demonstration, for example, on how to set up and install their software if they're an accounting student or a bookkeeping student. So there's a range of support that's available to students. Students are also able to utilise the service at mentor.edu.au email address and send through requests for support via the email address, and usually we get back to students within 1 to 2 business days. There's a range of other supports that we have available, as we can see here, that we really do understand that for our students life happens. We also understand that life is very much happening as things change out there in the big wide world. So as much as possible, we attempt to support our students in the best way that we can. So there is at the moment no additional charges for course extensions, resubmissions, and we do not charge for remarking. And we also don't charge for the additional one-on-one support sessions to provide that additional support for students, especially in a very much changing world at the moment.
Now, I put together a series of questions that we often get asked by students. So what I thought I'd do, Iona, is just go through those. And of course, the first is, can I get government funding? And the short answer to that is no. So all of our courses are self-funded by students, or sometimes in some cases as well by their employers. But that said, we do offer payment plans and options for students perhaps who aren't in a position to jump on the enrolment fee completely up front. And if you've got any questions about that, of course, the best thing to do is speak with the education advice team. When can I start? You can start at just about any time, which is really, again, goes back to that idea of flexibility and accessibility, which is really one of our focuses. So what we do is we say to you, look, if you can get your enrolment into us, you'll be up and running on the learning management system with access to anything and everything you need to start the course, usually within a 24-hour time frame, of course, with the exception of weekends where it can take a little bit longer, but of course you'll be up and running by first thing Monday morning. Everything's included with the course. So that's everything from your online textbooks to the assessments, anything and everything that you need is all included with the enrolment fee. And that also includes things such as resubmissions or whatever it may be. So in the event perhaps that you don't get an assessment task completely right the first time and you provided some feedback and you need to make a few changes or whatever it may be, no dramas there at all. There's no additional charges or anything like that at all to worry about. With some courses and units, of course, there's an opportunity to get involved with online classroom-based tutorials. Now, where that option's available, we do recommend students take advantage of that. However, there is, of course, a self-directed option as well for students perhaps who don't think they benefit from getting access to those real-time classroom-based tutorials. But look, if you've got any questions about that, the best thing, again, is to speak with the education advice team. Yes, the course is nationally recognised in all states and territories around Australia. There's no prerequisite, so it's an open entry course, but we do ask that you have a reasonable command of English language and, of course, reasonable numeracy skills as well. And how long do people usually take to finish? Well, the time frame that you want to have in your mind is 12 months. Now, it might be that you could perhaps dedicate a little bit more time in each and every week, bearing in mind that it is a self-paced course, and finish it a little bit quicker. And then there may be the other scenario, perhaps where you do need to suspend your course for one reason or another, and it's going to take a little bit longer. But the time frame that you really want to work towards is 12 months. A bit of background on us. Mentor's been delivering online education since 2003 in the financial services, business, project management and accounting space. And in this time, we've really committed to focusing on student outcomes. In many respects, it's kind of shaped the way we go about delivering our courses, the way we put our course material together, and of course, the support functions that we offer. And with all these things together, it really kind of manifested the positive student outcomes that we get year after year after year. Now, whilst our 2021 outcomes aren't out just yet, that we expect them to be out very soon, we've got some of our outcomes from last year. And I thought I'd just hand on to you to talk to us about perhaps what they mean.
Thanks, James. Every year, the National Centre for Vocational Education and Research undertakes a national survey of all students in Australia. And so what we can see here really is what our students say about us. So 92% of our graduates here at Mentor Education from our courses are employed or go on to continue in further study after they've completed their training with us. 91.6% of our students were satisfied with the overall quality of their training. 86.5% of our students would happily recommend Mentor as a training provider, and 90.2% of our students were satisfied with the all-important assessment and assessment process. So what our students say about us is really exemplifies our high level of student support and the effort that we actually make to support our students to achieve their goals and their aspirations. And often our students will actually come back and study another course with us. So our commitment is truly exemplified in what we can see here on the screen.
Yeah, look, and that's a really good point that you make about continuing on, because there are, of course, options for students as well, perhaps who are doing this course, to take advantage of, for example, a dual qualification, which we have available, which is a dual diploma of business and leadership and management. And of course, upon graduation, to move on to an advanced diploma of leadership and management, and then even after that, a graduate diploma in strategic leadership. So there's certainly academic pathways and options available for students. Now, finally, if you'd like more information on what we've talked about today, the best thing to do is head on over to the website at mentor.edu.au and visit the BSB50420 Diploma of Leadership and Management course page. Otherwise, email us direct. So that's courseconsultant@mentor.edu.au. Send us an email straight through, and that'll get through to the education advice team. Now, it might be that you open up with a question straight away about the course. You might simply request a course guide or brochure, which will have anything and everything that we've talked about today, plus more, and they'll essentially write back to you. Or if you'd like to provide them with a contact number, they can, of course, call you as well. Otherwise, give us a call on 1300 306 146, and you can speak again with the Education Advice team between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. Now, if none of those options work, we've also got a live instant messaging chat function on the webpage where you can chat in live real time with the Education Advice team again between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. Iona, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, James. It's been great being here.
Excellent. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. As always, take an opportunity to excite your potential, and we look forward to seeing your students very soon.